The U.S. hearing for Sean Diddy Combs is now in its second day. Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend, is one of many people who have accused him and is speaking as a key witness. Is she all set? Very ready and sure of themselves. Thanks. The singer is likely to talk about the 2016 video of Combs beating her up in a hotel room when she was dating him. People thought he was the biggest deal in hip-hop and called him a kingmaker or music mogul. But yesterday when Cassie Ventura testified in court, that carefully built picture fell apart right in front of our eyes. The things Diddy's ex-girlfriend said about him were so upsetting that even the most experienced court reporters couldn't say a word. The man who used to run a business lost control of his emotions when Cassie told him everything, and we mean everything, that she said happened behind closed doors. Rachel walked in wearing a brown dress that was too tight around her middle, making it clear that she was pregnant. He held his head high and didn't look at the suspect with Sean Combs. His words showed that Sean Combs planned everything about her, from what she wore to how she should talk to the person she was having sex with. Also, just to go over what a freak-off is again, the freak-off was basically that. Cassie said she found out about through Sean Combs after being with him for about a year. He said it was voyeurism because he wanted to see her have sex with someone else. She said she did it because she wanted to make Sean Combs happy. She was young, 21 years old, and she didn't know any better. The singer is likely to talk about the 2016 video of Combs beating her up in a hotel room when she was dating him. Combs has said he is not guilty. His lawyers say the video shows jealousy and not sex trafficking. Now for the first time the jury is hearing Cassie talk about that and other parts of their 10-year relationship. For decades Sean Diddy Combs walked through the music business like he owned it, which is pretty much true. He started Bad Boy Records from scratch, made singers famous, and built a brand that was known for more than just music. It was used in fashion, vodka and the media. From the outside Diddy looked like the perfect success story. It was him who showed everyone how to make real money with hip-hop. You could say that the perfect picture of the business genius, mentor and music visionary was hiding something much darker, if you believe what's being said in court right now. Magazines put him on covers for his business moves, fans cheered for his performances, and everyone saw his perfect red carpet smile. But Cassie Ventura was said to be living a very different life. Everyone in that courtroom yesterday was shocked by the difference. This man acts like the most professional person ever in public. Custom clothes, great hair and makeup, and always saying the right thing in job interviews. But what about the claims? Behind closed doors they paint a very different picture of that person, someone that people who only knew his public face couldn't recognize. The court reporters wrote down how he got there for day 2. Looking just like the famous wealthy boss we all know, he walked in with his expensive lawyers around him, and nodded at people in the courtroom to show that he was sure of himself, even smiling sometimes. The guy looked like he was going to a business meeting, not a serious meeting with his ex-girlfriend. That self-assurance, it was short. Several witnesses said that Diddy's whole mood changed in the first 30 minutes of Cassie's statement. The swagger went away, the faith went away, there were cracks in the calm business face. Cassie started to talk about specific events from their relationship. Diddy's lawyers kept stepping in to disagree, almost desperately trying to stop her. Can you picture this? The man who built a billion-dollar empire, managed the careers of countless stars, and negotiated huge business deals all of a sudden, couldn't keep his emotions in check in court. People who were there said Diddy couldn't hold still while Cassie spoke. The balance of power had totally turned around. People in the courtroom couldn't take their eyes off Diddy when Cassie took the stand. People said that his face had lost all of its color, like someone had pulled a plug. He first moved his tie, then his cuffs, and finally just his hands. At one point, people in the court saw him writing notes quickly and handing them to his lawyers. To slow him down, one of his lawyers had to put up a hand. The notes came so fast. One court reporter said it was like seeing someone for the first time in their life understand they've lost control of the story. Someone else in the room said Diddy looked really sick while Cassie quietly talked about their relationship. The third person said they saw Diddy close his eyes several times, as if he didn't want to look at Cassie or hear what she was saying. This was just the start. The courtroom would soon find out why Diddy couldn't keep his cool as Cassie's statement going on all afternoon. The exact accusation she was about to make would shake the music business to its core, and could ruin the reputation Diddy worked so hard to build for decades. The man who had always been in charge of the story was about to see a version that he couldn't change or make. I loved him very much. That includes the mental abuse she may have had in addition to the physical abuse she may have had. Indeed, she is clearly laying out a young person who was affected by their desire to have a record career. As part of her 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, which is run by Sean Combs, she basically talks about how she fell in love with him, and how he taught her about sexual things she didn't know about. Someone young said, "You know, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know any better." It's really about someone who thought she was going to be with someone in the music business, who would help her job and care about her. But after the breakup she quickly found out that wasn't the case. I also found it interesting that she said she felt dirty after that first freak out. She chose not to do it. After writing an email to Combs about wanting to talk about the freak-offs, she said she changed her mind, because Combs told her, "I know you don't want to do it." The jury saw this email. She told him, "No, that's not it." But that was the start. That happened in 2010, and she writes in an email that she wants to talk about it. She said she didn't want to do it, but felt like she had to. Well, Diane, the lawyers didn't waste any time getting right to the abuse Cassie Ventura says she suffered for years. Ventura told the jury, "He would hit me in the head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, and stop me in the head when I was down." She also talked about what those freak-offs were like, saying that they involved getting an escort and telling them what to do. Reports of Combs saying that they happened so often that setting them up became her job. Ventura said she didn't think she had much of a choice but to take part because she was afraid Combs would hurt her or even blackmail her if she didn't. And there were times when she had to stop talking and take a few deep breaths. With his hands in his lap at the defense table, Combs looks like he is just sitting there and listening. When Cassie Ventura spoke out, that courtroom was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Nobody, not even Diddy's lawyers, was really ready for what she was about to say, even though everyone knew it was going to happen. Cassie finally had a chance to talk after years of keeping quiet and keeping these stories to herself. She did speak out. She began small. That's what made it work so well. In the beginning, Cassie talked about how she met Diddy when she was only 19. He was already a big name in the music business, a millionaire many times over with good contacts all over the world. She was a young beauty who wanted to become a singer. From the start there was a huge power difference. Cassie said that Diddy knew how to use that power perfectly. But her story slowly came together, like in a scary movie, where you know bad things are going to happen, but can't turn away. First there were the smaller control problems. She said he always wanted to know where she was, and would show up at odd times when she was with friends. Then came the control over your work. She says he told her he would put her music on hold if she didn't do what he wanted. How he reportedly ruined projects with other artists when he felt threatened. What shocked you the most? According to court records, Cassie talked about how Diddy supposedly put tracking software on her phone. She said that he would call her a few minutes after she got somewhere, even though he knew exactly where she was. She said that he slowly cut her off from friends who might have made her think about leaving him. It is said that her support system fell apart one by one until Diddy was the only one left. During this part of the evidence, the judge had to tell everyone to be quiet 3 times. Diddy couldn't keep himself in check. The judge could see that he was making faces and shaking his head while speaking to his lawyers. Every time the judge told him to calm down, he did so for 5 minutes before starting again. It was like seeing someone who had never been told no suddenly understand that they can't change anything. Then something happened that made everything different. Cassie took out her phone and gave it to her lawyer. Text messages and emails were shown on a screen for the whole court to see. The way Diddy looks, just shock. It was clear he didn't know she had kept these notes for so long. He is said to have apologized for his violent attacks and messages. Messages in which he reportedly said she would lose her job if she told anyone what happened. Messages that were completely different from what his PR team had been saying for years. But those texts were just a warm-up. As Cassie's story went on, she started to talk about the physical abuse she says happened during their relationship. The whole courtroom was quiet as she talked about being thrown against walls during fights. She talked about a time when she says he pushed her down some stairs at a Miami rental house. The most unsettling thing was that she said he choked her several times, until she almost passed out and would only stop when she went limp. Several members had clear reactions to these claims. It was seen that an older woman on the jury was wiping away tears. After some of the more graphic details, a male jury couldn't look Diddy in the eye. There were some very experienced reporters in that courtroom, who said they were not ready for how detailed Cassie's statement was. But all of this was just building up to the event at the hotel that would blow this case wide open. How Cassie and Diddy are dating. Some of those details have been shown to us in other cases, but to hear her on the stand actually telling those details and remembering those times herself was very moving. Don't forget that she's very pregnant right now either. To find out how long she lasts on the stand, and how she handles all of these questions, I'm interested. It will be interesting to see how the defense fights this case, because they said right from the start that she chose to be there. When people ask her if she chose to do all of these things, or if she felt like she had to, I'm looking forward to hearing her answer. I believe what made Cassie cry was having to talk about the freak off and explain why she did it. She broke down when she said she wanted to do it to make Sean Combs happy. Before that, all she had done was answer the questions. Sometimes she's a little quiet, but that's when she got upset. When asked if she liked it, she broke down and said, "I like being with Sean Combs." She says, "I did it because it made him happy." In what ways do the jurors' faces look different? The jury is very interested in what Cassie has to say, and that was bound to happen, right? For the reason that lawyers say she will probably be on the stand for 2 or 3 days. It was her and Sean Combs who were together for more than 10 years. It sounds like she has a lot to say, and is just beginning. How important is Cassie's evidence to the government? Rachel, I think it really ties everything together. There was an initial charge that said, and what's being said, she is probably the person who knows the most about this idea, which the prosecution says is making a business out of Sean Combs' sexual needs. 7 photos of people close to Sean Combs, including his former chief of staff, were shown to the jury today. These photos sort of tie the case back to the accused crime group. All of these were people that Cassie Ventura could name and describe the roles in terms of what they did, such as security driver, chief of staff, and person in charge of finances. Because she spent so much time with him, it shows that she knew some of these people again. Cassie spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "That night I thought I was going to die." Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward to hear every word. Not the press, not the fans, not even the news blogs had heard about what happened at the Four Seasons Hotel before she talked about it. This hotel event had been buried for many years. Cassie said she had kept it a secret because she was scared. She was afraid for her job, her safety, and the fact that no one would believe her about Diddy. When she was on the witness stand though, she didn't hold back anything. Cassie says that what began as a normal party for people in the business turned into a nightmare. She said that Diddy got mad when he saw her talking to another music producer. She talked about how his smile went away, how he grabbed her arm so hard it left marks, and how he threatened her in her ear while keeping a straight face at the event. What shocked you the most? What Cassie told the judge was that Diddy dragged her through the hotel hallway to the elevators. She said she was crying and trying to get away, which made a big enough fuss that hotel security came over to talk to them. The security guard moved away when he saw Diddy though. He only wanted to know if everything was okay. He left after Mr. Combs said yes. Cassie said, "He didn't even ask me if I was okay." So the pictures came next. Cassie's lawyer showed a bunch of pictures that she had taken of herself the next morning after what happened. She had cuts and bruises on her arms and a red spot around her neck. These weren't pictures taken by a professional. It was clear that they were taken in a bathroom mirror, which made them even scarier. It was Cassie's excuse for taking them. She was afraid no one would believe her otherwise. Diddy's lawyers acted quickly and did everything they could to keep the jury from seeing these pictures. They said the pictures weren't properly verified, and that they should have been turned in during discovery because they could have been from anything. Every objection was turned down by the judge, and the pictures were shown on the screens in the courtroom. How the jury responded said it all. In shock, one of the women jurors literally covered her mouth. 2 of the male jurors turned their heads away because they couldn't even look at the pictures. In the back row, a judge was seen writing quickly in her notebook while her hand was shaking. This hotel event was the big surprise that no one saw coming.
It hadn't been talked about in earlier filings or comments, because they didn't know it was coming. Diddy's team didn't have a reaction ready. The fear on his lawyer's face was clear to everyone in the hall. Cassie said that Diddy reportedly hit her in the head with a champagne bottle. It missed her by a few inches and broke against the wall. She said that he smashed a lamp, flipped a table, and punched a hole in the bathroom door while he was angry and destroying the hotel room. Worst of all, she said he wouldn't let her leave the room for more than 48 hours, taking her phone and telling her bad things would happen if she tried to call for help. As soon as this part of the evidence was over, everyone in the courtroom looked at Diddy. His response would set the tone for the whole trial, and maybe even the rest of his career. Not a form of blackmail. This was not force. This was agreed upon. We know that Cassie met Sean Combs early on in her career, and that he promised to help her. What the defense will say is that she was just starting out and needed someone to help her. They got their first record deal together. I believe that is what the defense will talk about. She wouldn't be where she is now without Sean Combs. The government is clearly saying he was in charge. It may have started out as a friendly kiss. At first she might have been excited to see him, but he ended up being in charge of their relationship. He took charge of her job. This is their most important witness, and she's on the stand trying to walk the jury through all of the charges they want to make. That's not right. Early on, Cassie brought up Dallas Austin, whom she called a producer friend. I don't think that's the person we'll hear from. Picture of famous people like Kanye West, Kid Cudi, and Lauren London were shown to people who wanted to be jurors. They were asked, "Do you know these people? Are you familiar with them?" But we don't know how they fit into that yet. The prosecutor is still questioning Cassie right now. She's such an important witness that the defense hasn't even had a chance to. That could change depending on the time, but it's likely that she will be on the stand for the rest of the day. It turned out that Cassie called him Pop Pop, and Sean Combs called her CC. The government asks, what does CC mean? They told her it was Cassie Combs. What kind of witness does Cassie seem to be to the judges? I believe that when people look at her they naturally see that she's pregnant and her due date is coming up soon. Some of them might feel sorry for her in this way, but we don't really know. We know that they have been told to be fair and unbiased. To explain what kind of witness she seems to be, she talks about herself as someone who was trying to figure out who she was and what she could be at that time. You're now looking at someone who is almost 40 years old, a completely different person from the person you saw before. You can even describe what was going on with her at that time. I was high and trying to make Sean Combs happy. It seems like she's just making the case that she doesn't have much power. That's what I think you should remember. That person is making it very clear that she didn't really have any control over what she did or what she wore at that point in her life, who she was making love to. She's not the same person anymore. But I think she was moved to tears when she talked about those issues, and even thought about them herself, as we saw today. There was a moment in court that no one will ever forget. Everyone saw Diddy lose it in front of everyone. He built a business on being able to keep his cool under pressure. The outside cracked and then broke, and what was inside wasn't pretty. You have to understand that this man has spent decades working on how people see him. The CEO who talks softly, the businessman who keeps his cool, and the person who never lets you see him sweat. Unfortunately, when Cassie's evidence got the worst, that carefully put on mask began to fall off. Reporters for the court who have covered a lot of high-profile cases said they had never seen anything like it. They saw Diddy go from being a confident industry giant when he walked in that morning to a man who looked cornered and desperate as the afternoon went on. It seemed like he shrank in his chair with each new accusation Cassie made. His lawyers were working extra hours. Someone sitting right behind them told me that Diddy's main lawyer kept putting his hand on his arm to try to calm him down. At one point, one of the lawyers allegedly gave him a note that said calm in all capital letters, but it didn't work. Diddy slammed his hand on the table when Cassie talked about something that happened at his Hamptons home. Things got so bad. The sound of him hitting it was so loud that it could be heard all over the courtroom. The judge stopped the case right away and told Mr. Combs, "If you can't control yourself, I will have you removed from this courtroom." It looked like he might be kicked out of his own trial for a moment. Diddy was seen shaking his head and saying, "That's not true," over and over again while Cassie was testifying. It seemed like he forgot that a jury was watching every move he made whenever she said something very bad. One person in the courtroom said it looked like a man who had never been called out before realized all of a sudden that he couldn't control what was being said. It was crazy how the power changed in that room. It is said that Diddy managed Cassie's whole life during their whole relationship. She was telling the truth now, and he couldn't stop her. He was unable to turn off her mic. He couldn't ask security to take her away. His PR team couldn't help him spin it. He had to take it all in. Where things really went wrong though, was when Cassie started making threats. She said in court that Diddy had told her family that she would be hurt if she ever told them what happened between them. Then the big surprise that no one saw coming. Her lawyer played tapes of his voice making these threats for the court. These were real recordings. At that point Diddy lost it totally. He jumped out of his chair and told Cassie, "You know that's not how it happened." His lawyers grabbed him and tried to pull him back into his seat. 3 of his lawyers had to hold him down because he kept trying to talk over the recording that was playing in the courtroom. The judge called a break right away, but the damage had already been done. It was seen by everyone. The man who built his image on being untouchable was just shown to be very easy to get close to by the jury, the reporters, and the court staff. When they took Diddy outside for break, he didn't look at all like the person who brought him in that morning. There was no face left, and it wasn't pretty what was inside. The real bomb went off just as everyone thought they knew everything. Cassie had proof that no one, not the judge, not the jury, and especially not Diddy, saw coming. She had been gathering proof of what she said happened during their connection in secret for years. Diddy couldn't find or delete his text messages, emails or pictures because they were stored in different places. When Cassie said she had text messages from other famous people who had seen Diddy's behavior for themselves, the whole courtroom went quiet. These weren't just any people in the business either. According to court transcripts, these were some of Diddy's closest business and personal friends. They had known him for years, and had seen things at secret parties, and backstage at events that no one else knew about. That was all Diddy had to say. When Cassie talked about these famous witnesses, someone in the gallery said he looked physically sick. Right away his lawyers spoke out loudly against what was happening, and asked the judge to have a private conversation. They said that these messages shouldn't be used as proof because they were rumor and weren't turned in properly during discovery. The judge wouldn't let it go. After reading the messages alone, he went back to the courtroom and overruled all the objections. He said the messages were very important to the case and should be used as proof. Diddy put his head in his hands just because of that choice. He knew what was going to happen. Messages from well-known people kept showing up on the screens in the courtroom. After the Grammys, a big artist texted Cassie, "Are you okay? What I saw tonight wasn't right. If you need to, you can stay at my house." A pop star woman wrote, "I've known him for 15 years, and I've never seen him act that way with anyone else. This is not usual. Please call me." The most hurtful texts came from a producer who had worked with Diddy for many years. He texted Cassie after seeing something happen at a workshop. "I can't stay here any longer. I told him to get help. Please call me when you're safe." These texts were the exact opposite of what Diddy had been saying in public. Inappropriate behavior had never been seen by anyone. That Cassie was getting personal with these things. The court could now see that people had seen what happened, were worried, and tried to help her. After that came Diddy's own texts. Screenshots showed texts in which he seemed to admit to what happened. "I'm sorry about what happened last night. You know how I behave when I'm drunk. It is not going to happen again." In another text he wrote, "Just name what you need to do to make this right. You can want a new car, an apartment, or anything else." In a third set of messages, it looked like people were trying to hide events by offering money. "This can be done tomorrow by my lawyer. 2 million. Good break. You don't talk about anything from 5 years ago." There was something interesting going on in the gallery while these words were being read out loud. A group of people who had come to court with Diddy that morning and were sitting behind him to support him quietly got up and left the room. As the proof grew, they sneaked out one by one, unable to stay where they were. When this part of the evidence was over, Diddy was sitting at his table almost by himself, with only his lawyers there. The show of support he had brought with him that morning was gone. Everything changed when proof came out that no one saw coming. When day 2 was over, the man who came into court as music's invincible king looked like he had lost. The security guards around him were not able to keep him safe from what happened in court. He may be seeing his kingdom fall apart right now. After years of work, Cassie Ventura didn't just say what happened today. She might have changed Diddy's whole reputation. The testimony, the proof and the recordings all painted a picture that can't be erased. No longer is the question whether Diddy can win this case, it's whether or not his image can ever get better after what everyone heard today in court.